I have to tell you. So it was 2011, April 2011. We had a conversation about your book, and it was the third of three really pivotal conversations that I had in 30 days. I had a conversation with Frances Hesselbein, and she
Oh,
said,
wow.
she said, my definition of leadership is a matter of how to be, not how to do. Well, I'm a dairy farm boy from Maine. That's like hocus pocus, hippie type, dope smoking mumbo jumbo to me. And then a week or two later, I had a conversation with Jim Parker, who was the CEO of Southwest Airlines during 9/11.
Wow.
And I said, what's your favorite word of advice that you like to give leaders? He said, I tell them to be yourself. I'm thinking it's a conspiracy, I'm still kind of grappling with, and even now, I mean, the definition of how to be versus how to do is a challenging definition. Anyway, we had a conversation right at the beginning of April, and it really put a capstone on those other conversations of how do you be, how do you be yourself? And you told me the story of the 3-day silent retreat, and you're learning about self-reflection. And I have kind of put those three conversations together as a really important juncture in my own journey. And you are like the cherry on top when you start to talk about the how to do it. And so I want to talk with you about self-reflection. Let me just hold the book up for a second and just say, hey, everyone, I'm talking with Harry Kraemer. And he is the author. This is his third book. This book is Euro 168. He's a guy who has a favorite number, which to me is extremely weird. But his favorite number is 168, which is there are 168 hours in the day. It's all about a value-based life.
In a week, Dan, in a week.
In a week, sorry, yeah, right. So it's
you
all about
squeeze a lot in, Dan. You squeeze a lot in. You really do.
It's all about a values-based life. And Harry, you're like a one-string banjo to me in that self-reflection comes up in all your books. You talk about it a lot. Yeah. And I first, just in general, what is the difference between self-reflection and just thinking about yourself? I'm sick and tired of all this self-obsession stuff, so what is the difference?
Yeah. So, and Dan, it's always good to chat with you. And jump in. Remember, Dan, I'm the guy who always says I have no answers, Dan, but I have many opinions. So I don't do Q&A, I do Q&O, question and opinion. So the way I think about it, Dan, is very simple. If it's all about leadership, right? If it's all about we're here for a blink of an eye, and the short time we happen to be here, you want to make a difference. And I think if you're going to do that, you have to be able to be a leader. Well, how do you be a leader? And my whole thought process is very simple. How could I possibly lead other people if I can't lead myself? And in order to lead myself in a very simple way, I need to think through, what does that really mean? And for me, it means, you can call it self-reflection, you can call it prayer, you can call it, what do you do in order to be self-aware? But I keep it simple so I don't confuse myself. It's literally taking some time, Dan, turning off the devices, turning off the noise, getting by myself, and just asking some pretty simple questions. What are my values? What's my purpose? No kidding around, Dan. What really matters? What kind of a leader do I want to be? What kind of a example do I want to set? And we talk about numbers, and Dan, I was a math major, and people say, wait a minute, for a guy who studied mathematics and calculus, this self-reflection sounds a little up here. And I don't know if I mentioned to you the last time we talked, Dan, but I put together 3 little equations that summarize for me why everything in leadership starts with self-reflection. 3 little equations, interestingly enough, Dan, no numbers, okay? Part 1, if I'm not self-reflective, Dan, is it possible for me to know myself? I don't think so. Part 2, if I don't know myself, how could I possibly lead myself? I don't think so. And part 3, if I can't lead myself, how could I possibly lead other people? Mm-hmm. So in my mind, Dan, by the way, one of my students once said, let's describe what it isn't. It's not self-absorption. It's not studying the cosmos. It's not, let's spend 2 hours, focusing on my navel. No, what are my values and what am I going to do about it? That's the way I think about it, Dan, in a very simple way.
I want that to really be important. It's important to me. Again, as a dairy farm boy from Maine, kind of no nonsense kind of person, it's like I'm not impressed with the hum. Now, no offense, I think meditation is about trying to find inner peace. Self-reflection is different. I think, it's not just about inner peace.
Oh, no, no. In my mind, I think with self-reflection come the values. And there was a reason why, Dan, you made reference to it. The reason the first book was called From Values to Action. What am I going to do? Okay. As opposed to, no, I don't think so. So I think this one, there may be other things you and I may disagree with, Dan, but this is all my mind of, I'm here for a blink of an eye. To describe the blink of an eye this week for me, Dan, last week, Julie and I had our 40th wedding anniversary, okay?
Congratulations.
Which is, well, thank you, Dan. It's hard to fathom since I'm only 39 years old, okay? So how did I get to be, Dan, 65? How could that possibly be, okay? And I told Julie, I went from being 25 to 45 just like that. Okay, just like that. And I say, Julie, guess if I snap my fingers again, if I was still around, I go from 65 to 105. And she'll say, oh, let's not talk about that. No, let's talk about that. We're here for a blink of an eye. And what matters, whether you're a dairy farmer, whether you're a scientist, what are you called to do, and what are you going to do about it, as opposed to just talking about it?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So I mentioned the one-string banjo thing because I actually had written down a question after reading the book. What leadership problem the solution doesn't begin with self-reflection, from your point of view, from your opinion? And I'm assuming your answer is, well, all solutions start there.
That's where everything starts, Dan.
Yeah.
That's where everything starts.
Yeah.
And by the way, I like the one-string banjo. It's about as complicated as I could do it. And my view is, why make it complicated? Okay, I'm a pretty simple guy. So let's keep this really, really simple. In fact, a student will say to me, well, boy, I've been reading your books and all your classes, and, a lot of this sounds like common sense. To which I always quote Mark Twain, my very favorite Mark Twain quote, and you know it, right? He said, everything is common sense. The problem is that common sense is not common.
Right.
Look at what's going on in the world, pal. Look what's going on in the world.
Absolutely. Thanks also for still on the theme of self-reflection. I was not up to speed on the whole story of your first 3-day silent retreat. Now I did write about it, and by the way, the first sentence of the article that I wrote was, I just hung up the phone with Harry Kraemer and my ear is on fire. And you were talking about, I hadn't been silent for 3 minutes, much less 3 days. And that began, I'm assuming that began your journey of practicing self-reflection. Is that the case?
That's the case. That's the case. And you know the story about I was dating this girl, and her father said, we need to spend a weekend together. And I said, fine, super. Flew up to Minnesota and thinking,
let's watch football.
Yeah, let's do something. And he goes, no, we're gonna have you spend a little bit of time thinking about your relationship with my daughter and what matters. And that's when I said, well, what are you gonna do? He said, we're gonna go on a retreat. And of course I said, what's a retreat? He goes, well, you can't shut up for 3 minutes, but you're not gonna be talking for 3 days. And to be able, not for me, as you know, not to talk for 3 days. And they ended the whole thing, Dan. After 3 days, they said, this shouldn't be a one-time exercise. You should spend 15 minutes a day doing a personal self-examination, which I do every day at the end of the day. And I was to finish the story by saying, I married his daughter, and for the last I think this could be the 40th year, Chief, where I will always, every year, no matter where I'm in the world, the first weekend in December, this year it'll be December 5th through the 8th, I fly to Minneapolis and do this 3-day silent retreat with my father-in-law.
Right where you want to go in the middle of the winter is Minneapolis.
Hey, you're from Maine, so you're as crazy as I am. Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for, again, I really appreciated that. I had recorded and written down the reflection questions that you shared with me back in 2011. And they're still basically the same questions that today that you used back then.